That's all we can say about the US Navy, a symbol of power. The dominant might of a superpower. And there are many reasons why they are the strongest navy in the world, making even nations always ready for mass destruction wars with anyone, like North Korea, or even nations with almost inexhaustible military resources and manpower like Russia and China, reluctant to confront them. However, within the limitations of a 14-minute video, KTQS would like to introduce to you 5 reasons why the US Navy is a formidable force that no nation wants to confront on the ocean. In fact, before World War I, the Americans had no intention of dedicating a large portion of their national resources to the Navy. However, on that fateful day of January 28, 1915, the William P. Fry, a privately owned American merchant ship, was destroyed by the German Navy, despite President Woodrow Wilson's pledge of neutrality in World War I. Among the country's elite, the belief in the absolute safety and security of the United States, based on the protection of its 2 ocean shores, has become more shaken than ever before. Instead, there is concern about the dangers of emerging aggressive powers from across the ocean, capable of crossing the ocean to approach our shores and threaten the very survival of the United States of America. From then on, the most powerful navy in human history gradually took shape, ready to engage in battle and thwart any plot to bring down the United States. Although the nation's potential is no longer as overwhelmingly superior to the rest of the world as it once was, the sun has not yet set on the US Navy bases. With over 500 warships, centered around 13 carrier strike groups and 15 expeditionary strike groups, the US Navy remain ready to attack and destroy any country or nation that it believes is plotting against the legitimate interests of the US and its allies. While it is the most powerful navy in the world, when discussing the US Navy's unparalleled strength, the first thing that often comes to mind is its aircraft carriers, which act mobile military bases at sea. Indeed, even without the presence of the entire Navy, the mere presence of Nimitz-class or Ford-class aircraft carriers, or massive amphibious assault ships with a displacement of up to 100, a 90-ton vessel like the USS Miguel Keith is enough to instill concern in any nation's military. However, the Americans need more than just weapons to serve as a warning for a destructive attack. They need durable destroyers capable of escorting and protecting these iconic vessels even when they become targets of a large-scale naval battle. This is precisely the task the Americans have entrusted to the Arleigh Burke-class destroyers for the past 30 years. With its power, this class of destroyer deserves to be ranked as the second reason why the US Navy is not afraid of any powerful adversary. Named after a famous US Navy admiral from World War II, the Arleigh Burke is currently the longest-running class of surface warships in the US Navy since World War II. Currently, Arleigh Burke-class destroyers remain the cornerstone of the US Navy's surface fleet, of these destroyers having been delivered to the US military as one of the largest destroyers ever built by the US. A single Arleigh Burke-class destroyer possesses the power equivalent to an entire medium-sized naval force. You heard that right. With a displacement of approximately 400 to 500 tons depending on the version. Each Arleigh Burke-class destroyer carries 90-96 vertical launch system VLS missile launchers, capable of using BGM-1 or 9 Tomahawk cruise missiles, RAM-156M2 and RAM-6S3 anti-aircraft missiles, and RAM-139 VLS submarine missiles. Alongside these launchers are anti-submarine torpedo launchers. The Mark 32 comes with 6 rounds for close-range combat. The ship is also equipped with a MK-45 127mm naval gun at the bow with a range of 21 km and a round ammunition capacity. The ship also has several other defense systems such as the Phalanx 20mm close-in defense system, and the M242 Bushmaster 25mm automatic cannon with 5 Brewing machine guns to counter suicide attack. In addition, depending on the version and combat mission requirements, the ship can be fitted with 2 Harpoon anti-ship missile launchers or SM-3 Block 1B anti-ballistic missile launchers, besides the massive weapons system. The Americans also integrated the ANS-PY-1 electronically scanned array radar with data transmission to the missiles directly into the radar and the Aegis defense system, allowing for self-defense. The system controls and utilizes 4 fixed radar transceivers to provide accurate reconnaissance and tracking capabilities for 200 targets simultaneously, including extremely small ones like Komar torpedo boats, continuously within a 360-degree radius around the ship, yielding the fastest results. It can be said that, with such a dense armament system, the Arleigh-Burke-class multi-purpose destroyers are nothing short of mobile fortresses on the sea, capable of moving at 30 knots, and simultaneously engaging most types of combat vehicles of a basic naval force, from destroying dozens of torpedo boats and small missile boats at once, combining anti-submarine warfare and air defense, to intercepting ballistic missiles. Although they are the most versatile class of warships currently in the U.S. Navy, facing a large number of supersonic anti-ship missiles from Russia and China, the Americans can hardly expect their aircraft carriers to be safe if they rely solely on this system. The strength of these destroyers is based on the fact that just one hit by a supersonic anti-ship missile out of dozens or hundreds that could be launched could completely disable an aircraft carrier. However, that doesn't mean these symbols of American power are incapable of defending themselves, relying on the F-18 Hornet multi-role fighters on board, always ready for combat. This is also the third reason why the U.S. Navy is very difficult to defeat. Indeed, even if the Chinese were to carry out the actions threatened by Rear Admiral Luo Yuan, Deputy Director of the Chinese Academy of Military Science, to launch supersonic anti-ship missiles to destroy 2 U.S. aircraft carriers and kill 10,000 sailors, it would still be difficult to succeed, as the FTA-A-18 Hornet can immediately take off from aircraft carriers. This aircraft carrier, with a speed reaching Mach 1, each FA-18 Hornet can instantly carry 6 2 tons of weapons, including AM-9 Sidewinder, AIM-7 Sparrow, I-120 Aram air-to-air missiles, Harpoon anti-ship missiles, and a 20mm 6-1A2 Vulcan multi-barreled cannon, aimed directly at any target from which the anti-ship missiles could be launched, from fighter jets to surface warships and land-based launch platforms. Not only does it carry the FT-18 Hornet, but a range of E-2D Hawkeye airborne early warning aircraft, P-8 Poseidon anti-submarine aircraft, and various multi-mission UAVs are also always ready to sortie, search, track, and destroy any suspicious objects present around the aircraft carrier. It can be said that, thanks to its acquisition capabilities, launching their advanced fighter jets, American aircraft carriers are not just bulky, vulnerable machines like the Akagi and Kaga class carriers of the Japanese Empire. They are truly powerful military strongholds, capable of both attacking and defending themselves against any weapon. More than just a conventional military base, these carriers can bring their destructive iron birds right to the doorstep of any coastal nation, as long as that nation is maritime. Despite their destructive power and multi-layered defense capabilities, carrier strike groups are not invincible. In discussions about the possibility of an all-out naval battle between the US and China, Russia, or North Korea. Besides supersonic anti-ship missiles, submarines of the Russian Bore and Yasen classes, or the Chinese Type 094A, are also considered by many experts to be crucial. They could easily destroy key U.S. Navy fleets while simultaneously threatening territory and attacking sea-based supply routes from the U.S. to Allied nation, similar to how Nazi Germany used its U-boats. However, it Seems these experts have forgotten that the U.S. Navy's Virginia-class submarines are also mobile and are the most effective deterrent weapon of the U.S. military, striking fear into all armies. As the advanced stealth multi-purpose nuclear submarine class of the U.S. Navy, the Virginia-class submarines are considered the mainstay of the U.S. military in anti-submarine warfare missions. With a length 91, a width of 10 feet, a height of 10 a displacement of 95 tons, a submerged speed of 28 knots, and a diving depth of up to 500. The submarines of the General Dynamics Electric Boat and H.I. Newport News shipbuilding class are equipped with a range of weapons capable of widespread destruction. Includes 12 vertical launch missile tubes capable of launching 16 Tomahawk missiles at once. Unfortunately, this class of submarine is only equipped with 4x533 diamond torpedo tubes, but the torpedo magazine still holds up to 37, relatively sufficient for preemptive attacks on enemy submarines or surface fleets, powered by a highly enriched uranium reactor core with a power output of up to 40,000 horse, allowing for up to 3 decades of operation without refueling. Virginia-class submarines have virtually unlimited range, even in the deepest parts of the ocean. Furthermore, Virginia-class submarines are among the quietest in the world today. Like many other classes of warships in the Navy, Virginia-class submarines are also equipped with a system. The advanced radar system includes active and passive phased array radars, Lockheed Martin's TB-16 and TB-29A sonar detectors, and the INBQ-104 processing system, and the Sperry Marine AN-BPS-16 VF-4 navigation radar system. In addition, the ship is equipped with two 6-meter unmanned submarines manufactured by Boeing for long-range mine detection, electronic support robots, and reconnaissance. The weapon control system, designed and manufactured by Raytheon, includes a CCS Mk2 combat system and the ANBUIG-1 combat control system. Furthermore, multi-band satellite communication systems, allowing simultaneous communication at ultra-high frequencies SCHF and EHF, enable Virginia-class ships to easily identify and guide Tomahawk missiles for precise targeting and damage to high-value targets. The strategy involves targeting enemy bases such as Haikou and Sanya of the South China Sea Fleet, or strategic cities and scientific and industrial centers, like Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky in Russia, thereby gradually depleting their war resources. However, although it may defeat the will of nations like North Korea and Iran, a preemptive strike strategy using firepower is unlikely to defeat the war efforts of major powers like China and Russia. For nations with almost inexhaustible human and resources, upon achieving victory at sea, the attacking forces are compelled to land, quickly seize and control key bases, thereby threatening crucial strongholds and forcing the enemy to negotiate war-ending agreements favorable to the attacking side. Therefore, with its position as the world's best expeditionary naval force, the U.S. Navy also possesses landing ships, new generation amphibious assault ships like the USS America and USS Ponce. Each modern amphibious assault ship has a displacement of over 40,000 tons, allowing not only to transport thousands of elite Marines at once for direct landing and occupation of enemy military bases, but also enabling the U.S. Navy to rapidly deploy stealth fighters like the F-35B or multi-role combat helicopters such as the MV-22 Osprey, or transport helicopters like the CH-35EC Stallion. In addition, these amphibious assault ships can easily use new high-tech weapons, such as laser weapons, considered the future of warfare. Indeed, since the U.S. has conducted field tests with the launch tube installed on the amphibious transport ship, and within just 2 seconds, a laser beam from the USS Ponce was fired. It invisibly shot down a small reconnaissance drone UAV, achieving a 100% target destruction rate. This device is known to be able to concentrate radiation from 6 laser beams into a single powerful beam. And the U.S. Navy initially intended to use it as a warning system or offensive weapon against drones and small vessels. With such comprehensive power, at least in the near future, it is unlikely that another maritime power will emerge on this planet capable of dethroning or even matching the U.S. Navy. However, the obsession with the prospect of rising powers overshadowing its maritime dominance prevents Americans from being satisfied with the current reality. To maintain and develop its fleets, which constitute its maritime hegemony, the U.S. invests an average of $140 billion annually in its Navy. Even in the face of threats from the comprehensive rise of the Chinese Navy and the Russian military, the U.S. government's budget for the Navy is estimated to have reached $162.9 billion in 2021 alone, nearly catching up with the total budget for the entire Chinese military in the same year, approximately $209 billion, more than anyone else. The American elite understand very well that the fate of the United States could very well be to lose its global hegemonic power, or, even more tragically, its glory will follow that of empires that once dominated the seas, such as Spain and the British Empire, if its naval power continues to shrink in the face of other emerging powers.